Okay, so
So
let's share.
I've already told you that I had a military background. And by the way, there's some vets here in the room. Bill's a veteran, Reginald is a veteran, Lisa's family, including her husband, a lot of veterans in her family. So if I've missed anybody, let me know. But I know there's quite a few military vets in the room. So thank you for your service and sacrifice, because it means a lot that you're here today and that your families served and that you served. So thank you for that. So my business, I when I first left the military and retired, I went to work for the Department of Defense, just like everybody does, because it's the easiest thing to do. But I began to feel like I really wasn't maximizing my potential. I'd only been in the military and worked for the military. So I thought maybe there's something else out there that God really wants me to do. I got an opportunity to join a life insurance company. It's something that I felt positive. Ever since I made it out of that building on 9/11, I felt like I didn't have enough plans in place in the event that I had not made it home, because one of the worst things you can do is not have a plan in place for your loved ones in the event that you don't make it home. And it's important to have those plans in place. So some of what we're going to talk about today revolves around your business, but also your personal life. So the same themes apply when you're trying to protect your business as protecting your family. And we're talking about protecting the earth today, but also we need to think about protecting our own families with benefits like insurance and other products that can help to protect you and your family in case, that worst day comes. So here's my my name and my phone number. I've also put my contact information in the chat. Also, Claire knows how to get a hold of me. So if you'd like to set up a free, no obligation session to see if there's something I can do to help your family, I'm happy to do that. I am licensed in a lot of states across the United States. So even if you're not from Virginia or North Carolina, odds are I'm probably licensed in your state, because I do have a lot of military connections around the world. So next slide, Claire. We're going to talk a little bit today about trying to keep your business secure. But again, also there are ideas in here that will protect your family as well. So one of the things you need to think about when you're a business owner is what happens to the business when I pass away. A lot of people, I know this is a little surprising, don't have a transition plan for what happens to the business when they're gone, or say they're not gone, but they lose a very key employee. And if you're a small business owner, you have just a handful of employees, there's typically that one go-to person that if you're out of pocket that day or you're on a trip, they're handling your business while you're gone. So you need to make sure that you have plans in place to protect that person. And when you're talking about planning for the future, it's hard to imagine stepping away from your business and not doing it anymore, but you have to have a plan for how to make that transition, right? Because someday you'll need to fully retire, and you need to have a plan in place for how to do that and do it successfully. And that includes things like insurance. You need to know the value of your business. I know it's hard to do that when you're a small business owner, but you have to put a dollar figure on your business, because if you need to transition out of the business and sell it, you need to know how much it's worth so you can put it out for people to buy it. You need to know how much you need to retire. A lot of people who are small business owners obviously have to create their own retirement plans, unless they were blessed with a job that gave them one before they retired. So you need to make sure you have a full retirement plan in place that will get you through retirement. And folks, retirement is lasting longer and longer. Our grandparents and great grandparents didn't need, to be retired for 20, 30 or 40 years because, life expectancies weren't that long. But now many people are fully into retirement for more than 30 years. So you've got to really stretch your money to make it last your retirement of 30 years. And if you're worried about your employees and you want to retain them, during COVID, a lot of businesses lost important employees for whatever reason. Now you've got to work on strategies to retain them. One of the ways to ensure that you keep good employees or people that are important to you in the business is to offer them the benefits of some insurance plans or some other kind of insurance related opportunities so that they don't stray or join another company or just don't come back to the business because of COVID. Next slide. So we've all been through a lot with the COVID. Our businesses have been affected is probably the kindest thing you can think of. But despite all that, you still have to have a plan, right? And hopefully during COVID, you learned a lot from running your business that now you can benefit and look towards the future. Lisa mentioned many times that one of the most important things you have to do is keep looking forward and planning for the future. What we're going to talk about today will help you give some of those idea some traction and get moving on that. So plans help you benefit both your business and your family. It'll benefit the business down range if you decide to sell it or just, dissolve it. It'll benefit your employees. If you have a few people that work for you and in 10 years you want to retire, you have to have a plan in place because they're going to be affected when you retire because you're not going to be around and you may dissolve the business. So you need to make sure you've got some plans to ensure that they have a good place to land when you dissolve the business or sell it. You have to provide for special compensation. There are those key employees that go beyond and above, above and beyond, and you want to make sure that they get a compensation package that's different from the other employees because they're doing a lot more carrying of the load for you than the other employees. So you want to have a special compensation package for them. Next slide. So we're going to use that plan word a lot today. So if you want to take a note or two, just say, what is my plan, right? And then start filling it in. So business planning is just as important as planning for the family. If you're trying to help your family and look forward to the future, one of the things you have to think about, even if you're still very young, is how am I going to retire? What age do I expect to retire? How much money do I think I'm going to need? My income will shrink because I'll no longer be, because your maximum earning years are before retirement, right? Once you enter retirement, your income does shrink. So you have to prepare for that loss of income because it's not going to be the same as it was during your earning years. So you have to compensate through qualified retirement plans. A lot of people say, well, I don't have to worry about an IRA or 401k because I'll just, use my Social Security and I'll use that to fund my retirement. Well, the only challenge with Social Security is it's getting very unstable financially, right? They've been robbing the Social Security plan to fund other things that the government needed. So now the plan doesn't have as much money as it needs to last long term. So somewhere in 2033, it sounds like it's a long ways off, but it's really not. It's about 10 years away. They're going to restructure it. And when they restructure Social Security, what that means for you and I is they're going to have to shrink our payouts to be able to pay the plan a little bit longer, right? And to make it last. So that's something to think about when you're trying to put together your plan is how much money can I really expect from Social Security and how long will it last? Next slide. So it's important to think about retirement. Now, I tell people this all the time. So the first day you should think about retirement is the first day you're earning an income because someday you're going to be retired. So if you start working when you're 21 years old and you expect to retire by 65, every day you're working, you need to think about retirement and putting away money in a safe place and a qualified retirement plan so that when 65 arrives, you're ready for that. Estate planning is important as well to a family. An estate plan ensures that if you're, you're no longer part of the family, you've gone to heaven and the family needs to continue on. Your estate plan will ensure that all those things that were left behind that didn't get done, the estate will take care of that. There'll be funds in the estate plan to pay bills, pay your taxes, possibly take care of the business. If you weren't able to put together a transition plan for the business, the estate plan could potentially also help out with the business transition. So having an estate plan is not just something that wealthy people do. It's something that every family should think about having because it provides those mechanisms to ensure that after your death, there's no difficulties with probate or getting things accomplished for the family that you weren't able to do before you passed away. So just paying off your credit cards, ensuring that all of your loans are repaid, all those kind of things that maybe you didn't have time to do. The estate plan can help ensure that that happens and you can fund it properly to do that. Next slide. So again, talking a lot about business planning, but all of these same themes and mechanisms and processes apply to your family. So this is important too. If you own a business, in most states, it's required to do this. You need some kind of business insurance, right? And if you're taking out loans, you need insurance to make sure that if you don't repay that loan and something happens to you and you're no longer around, that the business can survive the fact that you're not there anymore. So you need to have insurance in place to make sure the business will thrive when you're gone and that these loans can be repaid through mechanisms of insurance. So a lot of people don't think about that because most business owners take out some kind of loans during the lifetime of the business. But if you as the owner pass away, someone's got to take care of those outstanding loans. And you don't want the family to now be burdened with paying off your business loans. You need to have insurance in place and mechanisms to take care of that. Next slide. Again, these are just things for you to think about. And if you want some assistance, I can help you with these processes and ideas. So buy sell funding is important when you have key employees, right? You want to retain your best employees, whether it's family members or it's actually, some employees that you brought into the business and they work for you. The buy sell enables you to take out insurance on those key employees, again, to include family, where the business is paying premium. And when something happens to that individual, right, the money would go back into the business to hire a new key employee. So it enables you to insure that special person, to provide insurance for them that's paid from the business's income. And then if something happens to the person, there's income to come back into the business to replace that person. Now, you should also provide some life insurance for the family. This is supplemental to whatever life insurance is provided for the family to carry on with, but your business is now suffering a loss because a key employee is gone. And this could include yourself. You might want to take out your own buy sell funding plan, right, to insure yourself from the business, to ensure that if you don't make it home, that the business can carry on, because they'll use the proceeds from the life insurance to get a new owner, right, to replace you. Next slide. So these are just some themes that you need to think about as a business owner if you're not already doing. We kind of already touched on this key employee insurance. The other thing about a buy sell funding plan that's important, a lot of people expect that if something happens to them, their family will continue to run the business, right? Their spouse or some member of the family. The reality is, at the time of your passing, your family may not be ready to do that, or they've already got some other businesses that they're running or jobs. And the ability to take on running your company now is just going to create an enormous burden to the family to be able to do that. The buy sell funding plan will take care of that as well. It will ensure that there's people there that can be paid out of the money you've put aside there in those insurance plans, to ensure that there are new people to run the business, and it won't be a burden to your family to try and figure that out. So a lot of these are just plans for the future in the event that you're not around to do the things you would hope that you could do. Next slide. So how do you attract and retain these key employees? How do you make sure that you have the people you need to keep the business running? Because again, even if it's just a handful of people, they're vital to running your business. And they may be family, they may be friends, they may be people that you've hired. One of the ways you do that is with a qualified retirement plan, an IRA, a 401k, that kind of thing. Depending on the kind of business you have, one makes more sense than the other. You can use SEP plans, SEP plans. Those are good for business owners. There's differences between those and some of these other qualified retirement plans. So this is where I can come in and help give you advice as to which plan suits your business the best. Whether you have employees or not, you yourself will need your own retirement plan. And there's plans for business owners that either have employees or don't have employees. And again, there's advantages and disadvantages to the ones that are available out there. So I can help customize and craft the right plan for you and for your business. And then if there's family members involved, some plans for them as well. Next slide. But it's important to find mechanisms to retain key employees, because right now, coming out of COVID, businesses are reopening. There's a lot of talent out there. They're all vying for the same talented pool of people. So you have to offer some kind of benefits that will help retain employees. Now employee paid voluntary plans are available too. So for most employers, there's some amount of the retirement plan that the employer is funding, and then the employee is expected to match that in order to maximize the contribution. Whenever you do a plan like that, that lessens the burden on you as the business owner, and it encourages your employees to contribute towards their own retirement plan. So it's important to have that mix of you funding some of the retirement plan and then an expectation that the employee is also matching your contribution and putting money into their own retirement plan. It'll encourage them to save more money and put money into that plan. Next slide. Now, another thing you can do for key employees, again, they can be family, friends, or actual hired employees, is to give them some kind of bonus plans. For those employees that, again, they go above and beyond, and you want to ensure you can retain them, at least once a year, you ought to consider some kind of a bonus plan for them, depending on how your business is doing, you may have to scale some back while you're still rebuilding your business or getting started. But at some point when the business is doing well, you do need to consider some type of, special compensation for those key employees. And a bonus is a great way to do that. Next slide. We're just kind of going to give you some ideas today, and then you can sit down with me over Zoom or in a meeting and we can go through some of these in more detail. Deferred compensation arrangements. So there are opportunities for you to defer compensation and make arrangements for employees that need that kind of deferment. Again, it can be a retirement plan. It can be some other compensation that's deferred that benefits them from a tax standpoint, but gives them the compensation they deserve because they are key employees and you want to reward them for their extra, loyalty to you and their extra hard work and the fact that they're a valuable part of your team. Lisa talked about leaders. When you have a business, there's always leaders in the business in addition to you. Well, you want to reward those leaders of your teams and people that are just there and they're more reliable than the rest of the team. Next slide. And some of these slides build, so it takes a while for them to load. I apologize for that. So here's a few things as a kind of a recap. If there's something that you heard and you wondered, hey, what did Donna say about those bonuses? Here's some of the key takeaways if you want to take a picture of this slide or just write some notes. Business loan insurance. We talked about having insurance for the business and having insurance that will ensure that if you don't repay your loans and you pass away, that burden won't pass to your families to take care of that. We talked about key employee insurance, how it's important to compensate those key employees. Qualified retirement plans for the owner and the employees. I can't stress enough how important it is to have retirement plans. I sadly meet on a regular basis people who have raided their 401ks early. Another thing you need to remember about deferred retirement plans, you're not supposed to touch them until you're 59 and a half. If you do touch your retirement plan too early, there are heavy penalties for that in taxes. So please stress to your family, your friends, your employees, and people that don't ever raid your 401k early. You'll really regret it down the road, and there'll be big penalties when you do that. The reason that there's big penalties is the government wants to ensure that you don't raid your own retirement plan, that you'll have money in retirement. So doing so creates a big problem for not just you, but the country, since we rely upon people to have retirement plans. Executive bonuses, we mentioned that briefly. There are people that are key to your team that you want to reward with at least annual bonuses. And then these buy-sell funding plans, which are important to rewarding those key employees with insurance. Perhaps you sell the business to them at the time of your death. There's just ways to make those arrangements well in advance so that you know that there's a plan and your family won't struggle to figure out what to do with your business at the time you're passing. Next slide. None of these are hard things to do, but they do require some thought and some preparation. And that's why I'm here to help you with that. I hope I've given you a few ideas to think about today. If for no other thing, if you want to get started on a way to protect your business and your family, I would encourage you to look at your life insurance and ensure that you have enough to both take care of your family and to protect your business in the event that something does happen to you and there's no one to pick up the business when you pass away, because a lot of business owners don't plan for that eventuality, and then the burden does pass to their families to figure all that out. If you have insurance plans in place, then the insurance can ensure that the business can retain another owner and keep the business going, if that's your intention. But you need to write out a plan and have insurance in place to protect both your family and your business. Thank you very much for your time today. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or if anybody wants to set up a free consult with me, I'm happy to do that as well. I'll put my contact information back in the chat. Thanks for your time today.
And if you're watching this in our Facebook group or on Instagram or LinkedIn, make sure that you write a comment or take advantage of talking to Donna and getting that consultation that you so need. And even if you have an insurance policy, it's a good idea to talk to her, because she can probably compare plans and tell you whether you're on the right track, or you could get some from her. So if there's any questions before we close the segment and get into the CBD discussion. All right, well, thank you so much, Colonel Donna, and we will see you tomorrow on Saturday for our in-person event that we are hosting here in Goldsboro for those of you who can come. So thank you very much. And if you have questions all through the day, please write to us, put a comment, and we'd like that so much.